Hello and welcome. No one in the Indian film industry has seen or done as much as this man. For 7 decades, he's been one of the leading lights of the Bollywood big screen, playing romantic heroes in action adventures. This week on 101, meet one of India's most enduring and legendary film stars, Dev Anand. A handsome and well-educated young man from the Punjab before India's independence or partition with Pakistan, Dharam Dev Kundanlal Pishoramal Anand was destined to be one of Bollywood's greatest actors from a youthful age. By his early 20s, while hanging around movie sets, he was given a break with a film part as a hero. Always a smart businessman, Dev Anand was only 26 when he launched his own company, Navketan, and started producing films as well as acting in them. One of his most acclaimed, Guide, made in 1965, was his first in colour and launched as a co-production between the US and India, in Hindi and in English, and he continued to churn out hit after hit. Even well into his 80s, Dev Anand has legendary energy and an undying passion for the film industry. The story of Bollywood's most enduring star continues to add new chapters.
Dev Anand, it's really quite an honor to be with you. Now, I have to say, it's amazing. There's no one like you around anymore.
Oh, thank you so much.
I mean, close to 7 decades in the film industry across, from when you first started, doing pretty much everything, literally like a Peter Pan. I don't know where you get the energy, where you get the drive.
Well.
Where is it? What drives
That's
you?
my energy. My energy is my work and the knowledge that I can do it. I started in 1945. I was very, very young. As an actor, I didn't know anything. Then I grew with it. And then the Indian independence came in 1947. And then I started my company, Navketan, in 1949.
Has there ever been a time in all this work where you've ever thought, no, it's time to call it quits?
No, not yet. Because every time I finish a film, there's something else growing in my mind. It's another thought. I read the newspapers, I see the world, I meet the people like you, and I get instilled, and I think, oh my God, there's another movie in this. And I start working on that side by side in my subconscious state of mind. That's me. That's how I've played it for the last so many years.
As we'll discuss during this interview, you've traditionally played heroes. Has there ever been any kind of role you've turned down? Is there a role you wouldn't consider? Or a subject?
No, I think there's thousands and thousands of roles, points of view that you haven't touched so far. Every time there's something new when you read the newspapers, every morning when you get up, something new happens to you. And it takes a little time to write a script.
What about when you put yourself out there, of course, the critics can always take a shot at you. How comfortably do you handle the critics?
I have learned to handle the critics, because critics is a lone voice, a single man's, a single woman's voice, read by the newspapers. But I think today's generation, they go by movie seeing also. And I think every critic thinks that he or she is the best movie maker, which is not so. Because a movie making is a point of view. Given the same subject to 8 different people, you will have 8 different movies. Which is the best one nobody knows, except the audience.
Certainly in the West, they believe that for an actor to truly appreciate a role, they have to have lived it. Do you think there's any truth in that?
I live the movie. I live the thought of the film. I live the part I play. I live the part of the players that I get cast in, whether they're the established actors, veterans, or the newcomers. And I'm famous for introducing newcomers as well. And they're all big stars.
Let's take you back to where it all began. You were born in Gurdaspur in India.
I was born in Gurdaspur, and I was in upper middle class. My father was a lawyer, and I was a very backward student and not very well to do, but happy in my family, a large family. And then I did my matriculation, then went to Lahore Government College, and I did my education. I did my honors in English, and I wanted to do my masters in English. I could not, my father couldn't afford me. Then I probably must have looked at myself into the mirror and thought to myself, my God, why can't you try in the movies?
Well, 1923, when you were born, India was a very, very different place. What were your strongest memories from that time?
I think I used to run around playing marbles on the streets, sometimes play a game of cricket with the neighbors, sometimes a game of hockey, sometimes gulli danda, which is a very typical Indian game. And then I was a dreamer. I think I was a dreamer all the time. I didn't know what I wanted to be, but I wanted to be something, somewhere, somebody known to the world.
Were you close to your parents? How did they influence you?
My father, my mother, I was very close to my mother. My mother died very young, and I still remember my mother when she died. She gave me tremendous blessings, and the blessings still live in my heart, because every time I come across some sort of a hurdle, and it's clear, and then I start feeling to myself, my God, it's my mother, maybe upstairs, up in the heavens. If heavens exists, I don't know, but she's there, and I can visualize her knitting a pullover, sitting, talking to me. I can visualize myself lying in her lap. I can visualize myself sitting on the parapet, and she's watching a funeral go by, and I'm asking her, Ma, what will happen to me if you die one day? She said, no, I'll never die. And she's never dead because she's there, she's in my heart.
What about your father? How did he influence you in terms of his character?
My father was a great taskmaster, and he gave me my early education. He used to teach me. He used to teach me English and Sanskrit and the Bible and the Hindi and the Vedas, and he would recite even from the Quran at times. So my training was mostly at my residence. My father was a great literate man, a great lawyer of his own days, and very well recognized by the district of Gurdaspur.
How, at that time, I mean, when you were in your early stages of life, what sort of career path did you envisage? What did you think you would do?
I was very vague. As I told you, I wanted to do my master's in English, and I could not. And then I just picked up a third-class ticket by the Frontier Mail from Lahore to come to Bombay to take a chance in the movies. And I struggled for 2 years, rambling on the streets, sitting in the compartments, to and fro, dreaming away and looking for a break, until the time the break came my way, and that was 1945. And if you remember, the Indian independence came in 1947. So and I was very young at that moment, a little more than 20. And since then, I've grown into a star, a superstar.
You started off actually in the military censor office, didn't you?
I was because I had nothing to do, and I was offered a job of 200 rupees a month at those days. And I still remember there were a lot of pretty girls on my table censoring letters from across the border, from the army jawans back home to the families.
And so then you went into small film parts, but I think it's when you were spotted hanging around the studios by Ashok Kumar in 1948.
He gave me a good break in a film called Ziddi, which was my first good break. And I used to idolize him when I was in college. He was a big star those days. And when I first met him, and I entered his room, I just couldn't speak anything. I was totally gaga. I was totally fan-struck. I said, look, I can't even speak in front of this man. He's my idol.
Could you, at that time, when Ziddi came out, could you imagine or could you sense the change in your future?
I never thought about it, but things have happened. I grew mentally. I grew intellectually. I became a star. I traveled all over the world. I met lots of people from all parts of the world. I thought I could be the best. I still feel I want to do the best. The end would be when I'm gone, when I feel I can't do anything else. Because the more you grow, you lose something physically, but you gain something here in your mind.
Now, you've traditionally played heroes, but there was a couple of times you took on the bad guys, like bad guy role in 1952 in Jal, for example, playing a slightly shady character.
I love to play a villain. I'd love to play a killer sometime, because it's a very fantastic character at times. Because the villain in a man makes you a little more strong on the screen.
You're obviously very business-minded from the start, because you launched your company, Navketan, in 1945. Yeah, so it was early on in your career that you did this.
Well, it's a long, long span, and that's my confidence, and that's my energy, and that's my responsibility. When I'm making this picture, people are not going to forgive me unless they really feel, my God, Dave's done well, and they know what I'm doing, they know my age, and they look up to me, and I know it. And I'm not an internet man, because I don't think it's waste of time looking at the internet. There's so much to think about it. There's so much to think about your scripts. Every time you go on the set, you got something new. And every time you come back after shooting, you start feeling, my God, I should have done better. And that's a good sign. Because the very fact you feel you can do better is very healthy intellectually. The day you feel you've done your best, you're gone.
That was an interesting time for you, the early years, because things happened quickly, but you also married one of your early co-stars, Kalpana Karthik. She became your wife.
1954, I got married quietly on the sets. We didn't tell anybody, we didn't throw any parties. It was a meeting of the minds, and we got married. And I got two kids by her, one my son called Sunil, and a daughter called Davina, who was also married.
Now, interestingly enough, your brothers, and you're one of 4 kids, your 2 brothers, Vijay and Ketan, also ended up in the movies.
Sad. One was older, Chetan, 10 years older, he died. My younger brother, who directed the guide, also died. So I'm left alone.
But it was interesting your family went into the movies in such a big way, not having had that sort of start. Was it sort of inevitable that everyone was going to end up in the movies that way once you became a star?
Well, I think once I became a star, then I was quite responsible in looking after their career. And in fact, the company called Navketan grew because of my older brother. He was very, very intelligent. I used to look up to him, and I thought he deserved a break. And I brought some money from my producers, and I gave that money to him. And I said, go ahead and form a company and put me in it as a star if you feel like it. And I brought Suraya along with me, and he made his first film called Afsar. That's how Navketan started. And then I brought in Gurudat to do Bazi, to direct it, and he became big after that.
Was there ever a time in your life you thought, I'm in the wrong profession?
No, never. I've always maintained, and I shout at the top of my voice, this is the greatest profession in the world. There's no other profession, because there's no political strings attached. You can say what you like and say to the world, it will go to the world for the world to pass a comment upon. I think if I have to be born again, I'd like to be again a star and a maker and a thinker and a man who plans what he wants to say to the world. Reach that stage.
Anand, I've got many more questions for you. We're going to take a very short break here on 101. We're back shortly. Welcome back. You're watching 101. We're speaking with legendary Bollywood star, producer, actor and director Anand. Anand, in 1958, you got what was really your first Best Actor award for Kala Pani.
Kala Pani Filmfare, yes.
And that, I mean, you'd already been doing some top work by then, but that was a very intense role you played in that movie, wasn't it?
It was based, it was about a man whose father is serving life imprisonment for the wrong reasons and is not actually convicted but the sent with the wrong decision, and he had sworn to himself that he will always wear black until the time he has his father released from prison. So it was called Kala Pani, and that role gave me, very, very important award from Filmfare.
Ironically, tell me about the story of how you were banned from wearing black suits in Kolkata because
in that picture I kept on wearing black all the time because he had sworn to himself that he will keep on wearing black until the time his father is released from prison. And I keep on wearing black suits. And the word went around that all the girls fainted when I wear black.
But apparently falling off balconies.
I didn't contradict anybody because it suited me at that moment.
No, but there were stories of them falling off balconies because they were fainting.
And I've written a book called Romancing with Life. If you read a chapter, there's a chapter in this. And it's a bestseller by the Penguin people. They took me to London for that. I've written it myself with my own hand, my own language.
In 2000, Hillary Clinton, who was then First Lady of the US, gave you an honor, an award. And then a year later, 2001, India gave you one of the highest awards.
I think I was in America, and I think an association of they gave me an award at the hands of Hillary Clinton. I still remember that moment, and I went all the way.
You're in the Limca Book of Records, which is like the Guinness Book of Records, for being the man who's played the hero for the longest ever across so many, more than 58 years, it said in the book, you've been playing a hero.
Yes, and I think, what is the definition of a hero? A hero is the one who holds the script, the central, the theme of the story. So I've played the central part all the time in all the pictures. I don't have to go to smaller roles. And the small role is so dynamic that people say, my God, this is going to be so sterling.
You're an icon and you are a mentor to so many people. Who are your mentors? Who basically...
I've grown out of it. I think when you're born, your parents are, then your professors in college, then the people that you look up to. Like those days, I still remember people like Gary Cooper, Spencer Tracy, and and all Hollywood actors. And then now I think I've outgrown that, and I think I'm thinking of myself as an actor, and I think anybody who does a great performance is my hero at this moment. I've outgrown that stage at all.
You were in the Indian film industry at a time when it was so classic, so, I mean, a lot of people say beautiful. And
even now it's beautiful. Every moment is beautiful. It's the way you take it. It's the way what you get, what you see out of the moment.
You're okay with the fast-paced action and violence and
I've done action, but not the type of action that the people these days are doing by showing their biceps and triceps. But because I think what is cinema is your face, is your expression. Also your body, but not the body all the time.
So it has gone down.
I think I'm a very frail man. I'm a very thin man. I hardly bear my chest. I cannot. But again, people like it because I do not know what it is. I think maybe I emote well, maybe I look good, maybe my eyes are okay, maybe my speech is good, maybe I get into the hearts of the last man in the last row in a theater. This could be. Otherwise, how could it be that a man of 62 years status, even now, be confident of making a film and competing with the best in the world in all possible departments of movie making, including performance?
Could you have imagined in 1945, when you first got into the industry, that you'd see people kissing on screen in India?
I think they used to cut it those days. Censors used to be very tough. You used to have the British censors. But now they're getting a little more liberal. But again, I think there's a lot of favoritism. There's a little more favoritism, but I think with the coming in of television, they've relaxed the rules. So I think if I have a good scene, a bedroom scene, and I do it with total conviction in my script, I'll fight the censors. If I think it's so important to the script. In other words, if you cut off the scene, there's no spine left to the whole movie.
But it took a long time for India to get...
I think we have reached that stage. We reached that stage in such a way that if I have such a scene, I'm in the right position to fight with the censors and see that it's passed.
It took a long time for India to get a kiss onto the screen, didn't it?
Many years, but today it's so easy because the world has come so closer. Globalization, internet, TV.
You've done so much. I mean, producing, directing, acting, and so on. Having done all those, been through all those disciplines, how do you think it has benefited you personally?
My own growth, my own mental growth. Because today, if I'm talking of this picture as my best, when this is over, if I'm still alive, my creativity is still on, I might think of something bigger and better, which at that moment I think is better. Because there's no end to thinking. There's no end to great thinking because the best thinking is never to be. It's never been there. Who can touch the sky? Nobody can touch the sky. But it's best to go on running towards the sky and trying to catch it, to grab it. You never grab it.
Did you ever think to go into politics, as many of your peers did?
We formed a party called National Party of India to break the emergency. I was a front runner, and we broke it. And they formed the National Party of the movie industry. They made me the president. And I still remember the first speech I gave, everybody followed. And I could be the prime minister at that moment, but I think it was not my cup of tea. It's too rough a game. And the motion picture making is a very artistic game. An artist is not a politician. I cannot abuse a man openly. I cannot call a spade, which a politician can.
Do you think that films should only be there to entertain, or do you feel they should have a strong social message?
Strong?
Social message.
Every film that I make has it. Every film that I make has it. Others, a film is nonsensical. Unless you tell the world I'm making a nonsensical picture, and that's your premise. That can also happen. Look, I'm just making a nonsensical film, and treat it that way, it'll be a nonsensical film. Other film, when you see a film, you must carry something home. So that when you go to bed, my God, this is what I thought this film has told me, and I like to see it again. That's a sign of a good film.
Do you have any particular roles you haven't had a chance to do yet? I mean, I'd find it very hard to imagine.
I haven't thought about it, but you never know. There could be some aspect of a role, some incident, or something. I haven't touched anything so far. Nothing at all. There's so many hundreds and hundreds of roles that people have not yet tried. It all depends on what type of script you have. What angle to a story? Look at the way the world is moving so fast. Look what's happening in the east and the west and the north and the south. There are ideas and the scripts and scripts. They're sensitive. They're also very touchy. It all depends what you should make, what you should not make. The world has become very, very. I think everybody is now conscious. Everybody wants to be liberated. They are liberated, but everybody is a different type of world. Very interesting, therefore. Very interesting. Because everybody must be thinking that way.
Bollywood is unique, and certainly the loyalty of the people who watch the movies and so on. And some would say there are no parallels anywhere else. But if someone was to say to you, who do you compare yourself with in the Western, in the Hollywood business? Is there an equivalent?
I don't think I want to compare to anybody at this stage.
Not so much comparing.
Maybe 15, 20 years ago, yes, but not now.
I was thinking, who would people relate to? Who would you relate to in the Hollywood set? In those days, 15 years ago?
I think I'll feel very stupid if I say so at this stage of my career. If you had asked me this question 20, 25 years ago, I would have said it.
What would you have said then?
Not now.
That's what I'm saying. What would you have said then?
Not now, because now I'm a thinker. I'm making films myself. I can make anything that I want to make. If today I think I want to make this, I just have to plan it and tell my staff, this is my next film, and things are laid out.
Devanandji, how would you like to be remembered? What would you like your legacy to be?
I will not say the same thing like people would have said, I want to be Devanand, but I'd like to be somebody like Devanand at this stage, because I think if I have worked for 62 years and today I've reached a stage and I can think so independently and I can laugh at the world and I can have my own point of view, and I also know what the people should do, what they should not do, and I've not told them. I think the best situation to be, I want to be in this situation. I want to be the same type of man, even better.
Devanandji, I wish you a long life. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you so much, Riz. Yeah.